Hey everybody, it's Dean down in my dungeon again. And today, really simply, what I wanted to do is I wanted to set up an arm workout. And my arm workouts, at least lately, consist of both bicep and tricep at the same time. Sometimes I split the routines up and just do one or the other, just to get a little bit more emphasis, a little more intensity on one side or the other. But for the most part these days, in the interest of efficiency, time constraints, and then sometimes the fact that the job that I have typically really wears me out. So sometimes it's hard to come up with the motivation to even get down here. Although now that I'm working at this place, it's like an hour from here. I had to actually join a gym, which has been an experience in and of itself. I haven't been in a gym in a long time because I have all this wonderful equipment down here in my basement. But now I get to go back in a gym and watch the hijinks, the insanity that goes on in a public gym with a number of different people who have really their own ideas about what constitutes a good workout. But today, I'm going to focus on the arm workout, and like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to construct my routine the way I always construct my routines, because one of the things that I've stopped doing over time is setting or fixing the number of sets and reps in stone. Okay, most people, they'll go, okay, I'm going to go in the gym, I'm going to do 3 sets of 15 or 3 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 12 of this, and 3 sets of 10 or 15 of this, and then just basically sort of snail walk their way through these successive sets of different exercises. And you know what, for anyone who's just starting out, for anybody who maybe has a specific purpose in mind, that kind of stuff works well, I guess. I mean, it's sufficient, I suppose. But when you get to a point where you really want to define what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and ramp up the level of intensity somewhat, you need to start considering some of the other options out there that increase the level of intensity, the level or the amount of time under tension, which is the foundation, the key to building muscle. Time under tension. Okay, so what I do is I construct routines that essentially amount to, before I even explain that, the idea, okay, of supersetting. A superset, okay, is taking 2 exercises, could be 2 exercises focusing on the same muscle group, two exercises focusing on a different muscle group, and putting them back to back. So you're doing really 2 sets of 2 different exercises without really any pause or rest in between. When you can get into triple sets, which is really exactly what it is, 3 sets or beyond that, I suppose they start calling it monster sets. When you're talking about 4 or more different exercises or 4 or more different sets done back to back or consecutively. But that's where I take my routines, because I was talking about counting, setting specific goals or numbers to your sets, and I still count. It's not like I don't count, but I don't have a number in mind when I do my routines other than the number 6. If I start doing sets that start dipping below 6 reps, then it's time to change. It's time to lighten the weight. It's time to stick where I'm at. It's time to do a drop set. Maybe at that point or at that particular set. So in other words, I'm doing sets. I'm doing, say, arm curls by dumbbell curls, and I'm progressively getting heavier in my sets, and I start dropping below 6 reps. Okay, well, what I'm probably going to do is, on that particular set, I get 5 reps or something, I'm going to go drop that weight, pick up something lighter, and then hit it again, and try and get at least 5 or 6 more. Sometimes if that doesn't work, I'll drop it again. I'll do it again until I can get 12 to 15 clean reps. Because for me, when you're talking about muscle, okay, when you're talking about what you look like as opposed to how much I can lift, if you're only concerned about 1 rep max or lifting heavy, then you're watching the wrong videos because I don't do that kind of stuff anymore. I mean, it's ridiculous and it's risky. It just seems like these days you go to Facebook or even to YouTube, and all you see, especially with like CrossFitters, is people deadlifting. I haven't deadlifted in 20 years. Okay, there's a reason for it, because deadlifting is a difficult exercise to do correctly. Okay, it requires incredibly good form, and focus, and it's an incredibly demanding movement. Okay, that in my personal opinion, when it comes to physique development, is pointless. I say pointless. I mean, obviously, any exercise, especially a compound movement, where you're, doing the appropriate number of reps and you're doing it correctly with good form and everything, serves a purpose. But think about deadlifts and what it is you're focusing on. Okay, if you do a deadlift correctly, you're basically squatting down, grabbing a bar, and your arms are nothing more than hooks. I mean, it literally, you're grabbing that bar, okay, and your arms are just there to hang that weight. And if you do it correctly, what you're really doing is you're squatting, weights without putting the weight on your shoulder. Sure, at the top of the movement, as you're straightening up, you are using some low back muscles, to help sort of facilitate the entire lift. But in essence, if you're doing it right, it's mostly a leg enhancement type exercise. But done incorrectly, it puts an enormous amount of strain on your low back. And there was been a time I used to deadlift. But I did mostly partial deadlifts. What I did was I got on a squat rack, I stuck the bar just below my knee, and just sort of squatted it from there or lifted it from there, and then sort of flare your back a little bit or shrug to some extent, to try and add some back movement to it. But I gave that stuff up because I didn't see any point in it. I mean, and besides, once I hit 40 and started getting to my late 40s, and like I said, I haven't deadlifted forever for a reason, because it just caused me a lot of low back pain. I mean, it's and if you're doing it right, you're scraping the crap out of your shins. Anyway, moving on. My sets or my exercises, my routines these days consist of really what you would call monster sets. I mean, I'll pick as usually no less than 4 different movements, okay, and put those movements together back to back, okay. And I'll start relatively light enough to prevent injury. I don't want to, I'm not going to pick up an enormous amount of weight, get on the bench and start my first set at 80 pounds or something. I start relatively light, I'd say 50% of my 1 rep max or in that vicinity. And then, like I said, I don't set a specific number of reps, but I do count. My first set might consist of 20, 25 reps. And that's at each station, at all 4 different exercises. I might be doing as many as 20 to 25 reps. And then I go progressively heavier, and I do the same thing. I just keep, I just count, and I do the movement to failure, okay? It's not complete failure, because if I really wanted to, in most circumstances or situations, I could probably push another rep out or 2, but I push it until my form suffers, okay? And then I stop. And then what I do is I get right up, I go right to the next exercise, and I do the next set, okay? So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an arm routine, and the only thing I vary a lot of things over time. I don't ever really. I never come into this gym or into my workout room and do the same thing twice in a week, or even on consecutive routines. Everything changes. So in other words, I'm doing my bicep tricep combo thing today. You know, most of the time, well, I start with the bicep and then do the tricep. Well, there's times where I come in and I start with the tricep and do the bicep. You know, there are things that need to be varied on a consistent basis, and one of those things when you're combining more than one muscle group is which one goes first. You know, which one's first. You know, if you're doing as many as 4 sets, you know, it starts to become a little irrelevant, but still it matters to me because, you know, I want each group to be able to be the one that starts first or be fresh. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do an arm workout. I'm going to try and sort of abbreviate the rest of this video because I know I've probably talked a little bit too much, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a routine, and I'm just going to show you. Today it's, you know, since it's, like I said, it's going to be arms, I'm going to do 6 different movements consecutively. So I'm going to do 3 bicep movements and 3 tricep movements, and in those 6 different movements, there will be really essentially no downtime between the different sets. Okay, so the downtime comes after the 6th one. So I'm gonna put this together real quick, and then I'm gonna because, you know, I know kind of which exercises I'm gonna do, but I don't really know specifically which ones and in what order. So I'm gonna formulate that in my head, and then I'm gonna set the camera up, and I'm gonna have to follow myself around because I don't do everything in the same spot. Okay, so here's how it's gonna play out. Although I have to say, I wish that I could get rid of my wife's clothing out of this place because it looks more like some kind of rummage sale than it does a gym. I mean, my wife has enough clothing that she could wear a different outfit probably for the next 3 to 5 years and never wear the same thing. But I love my wife. So anyway, here's how it's going to do. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do dips. Okay, I'm going to start at the dip station. Then I'm going to go and do seated curls. Okay. Then I'm going to do a seated overhead dumbbell press. Okay. Then I'm going to do hammer curls with the dumbbells. Then I'm going to do a French press or a tricep extension on the bench with the cambered bar, and then I'm going to finish with curls with that very same bar. So anyway, here we go. This is 6 consecutive movements done without really any stopping. Okay, because the point of this is not and never has been about how much can I lift. It's how am I lifting it and what am I trying to accomplish. And what I'm trying to accomplish is a physique, a balanced, muscular, defined physique. Okay, so training does not consist of 1 to 3 rep sets with the heaviest freaking thing I can put on the damn bar. It's about moderately weighted exercises, movements done with as clean a form as I can possibly do, with as much intensity and focus as I can possibly do, while breathing through the entire thing. Okay, and doing a number of different exercises back to back to keep the tension on the muscle and to try and promote some growth. Okay, so anyway, here we go. Because I start with these dips because it's just body weight, which I think is not unreasonable as far as starting out. Because I'm ice cold, I haven't done a damn thing, and this will be my first set of anything this morning. So anyway, here we go. Okay, that was nearly 30. On to the curls. I do these curls sitting down because it's harder to cheat. Okay, that was 23. I said I was going to do lying tricep extensions, but I'm going to do the rope instead, and then I'm still going to do the dumbbell overhead press, but I'm switching this out for the tricep press. Okay, I think that was 23. Okay, on to the hammers. $17 unless I miscounted, but I start burning out pretty quick going through this many. Okay, now this dumbbell press. This is probably one of my favorite tricep movements, although this thing sucks, this spiral lock. God. 18, not that it matters. 18 reps. Okay, finishing. This is the last one. Last movement, the cambered curl here. Oh God. Shit. Too much stuff on the floor around this place, man. My wife and her cardio stuff. Okay, you can see the form start to suffer there. Anyway, okay, that's what I call one set. my routines, if you're, you know what, it all just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I get in arguments with people on Facebook about different approaches. I don't know why I even waste my fucking time on there. Trying to talk to people who've already made up their minds, especially about things like deadlifting. But if your overall goal is muscle growth, definition, separation, symmetry, proportion, I mean, if you're about how you look and not about how much you lift, okay, this is what you should be doing. You can go in the gym and power rep your way through routines where you fucking never do more than 3 sets or 3 reps. I mean, and in between sets you're sitting there on your ass for 3 to 5 minutes doing nothing. Okay, that will accomplish shit. Okay, if you want to grow, and you want to look good, okay, you got to eat right. I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't happen just in the gym. The gym is one aspect of fitness and muscularity and appearance, but the diet is the biggest part of it. I mean, truthfully, if you don't eat right, you can lift all you want, you're still going to be overweight and ill and poorly defined, and stuff goes hand in hand. So anyway, this is an example of one of the routines that I do, and how I do it. And I do all this stuff on a regular basis, and I do it with every muscle group. I put together these multiple set routines with different movements, sometimes in a very specific order, like a shoulder press routine. I might do the presses first, so that I'm fresh and I can maybe push a little heavier weight for more repetitions, and then move on to the isolation exercises afterwards. Or I might pre-exhaust, okay, my shoulders by doing the isolation movements first, then come over and do the presses. That way I can't really lift as much, but at the same time, because I've already sort of pre-exhausted the muscles, even though I'm not lifting as much, I'm still getting as much out of it, okay, because I'm still working hard to do less weight, it's all in your mind, but push till you drop. I mean, you should be doing these sets until you can't really push anymore, and I don't mean, like I said, pushing to absolute failure. I mean pushing until you just know it's burning, and any more reps are going to be sloppy, and on to the next exercise, and then just push through your entire group of movements and catch your breath. Grab a drink, in this case coffee, my motivator, and hit it again many times as you can. Getting 50, 54. I mean, if I go through this 3 times, I probably feel pretty good. If I go through 4, I'm really happy. 4 times, more than enough for 6 movements like this done back to back. What did I do just now? Probably in the neighborhood of 110, 120 reps. That's outrageous for one set. I mean, for calling it one set. So anyway, like I said, it's all in what you're trying to do, and I'm trying to build a better physique. So there you go. Until next time, you guys have a good one.